Did the Miami Dolphins just slip up on a decision that could come back to haunt them? A new era is taking shape in Miami, led by Champ Kelly and Mike McDaniel, a front office determined to reshape this franchise into a contender. But with every big move comes a big question, and this weekend delivered one that has Dolphins fans buzzing. Miami activated Darren Waller and Austin Jackson from injured reserve, bringing two important veterans back into the fold. But to make room, the team waived Hayden Rucci and Keon Smith. And that's where things get interesting, because the moment Rucci hit waivers, the Detroit Lions claimed him without hesitation. Before we go deeper, this is a perfect time to remind you. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like the video, share it with your friends, and hit that bell icon so you never miss an update. Alright, let's get back to football. Rucci is the name that has fans talking. Losing a young tight end to a rising NFC powerhouse has sparked plenty of debate. But here's the truth. Despite Rucci's potential, this wasn't a mistake for Miami. Darren Waller instantly brings more value at the tight end position. Over the last 5 weeks, Greg Dulcich has built real momentum, proving he belongs in the rotation. And even though some fans wanted Rucci over Julian Hill, it's clear Miami views Hill as a long-term piece. The Dolphins simply weren't going to carry 4 tight ends, not in this offense, not with how little they utilized the position. Miami's plan was simple: waive Rucci and hope he'd slide back onto the practice squad. Detroit had other ideas. And that's the league. When you show upside, teams notice fast. So who exactly is Hayden Rucci? He's a Wisconsin product, an undrafted tight end who spent 2 seasons developing with Miami. He worked his way through preseason, fought for a spot, and stayed ready on the practice squad. His journey is pure NFL grind, and Detroit saw enough to give him a shot. When injuries hit Miami earlier this season, the tight end room was pushed to its limit. With Julian Hill sidelined and Darren Waller on injured reserve for nearly a month, the Dolphins were forced to rely on just Hayden Rucci and Greg Dulcich. During that stretch, Rucci logged 39 snaps, most of them in heavy run packages. His role was clear. He was there to block, and he handled that job with toughness and consistency. Rucci wasn't targeted once in those games, which tells you everything about how Miami viewed him within the offense. He lined up like a 6th offensive lineman, a physical presence built for trench work, not for attacking the seams or stretching the field. Some thought he might eventually grow into an Alec Ingold-type role at fullback, but that door closed quickly. So, was there a long-term future for him in Miami's tight end room? Possibly. Potential is always part of this league. But potential only matters if it fits the vision of your offense, and the Dolphins made their direction clear. Many fans are still debating the decision. Some say Miami should have found a way to keep him. Others believe the roster simply didn't have room. But let's be real, the Dolphins did not make a mistake moving on from Rucci. Look at the depth chart as it stands today. Who exactly was Miami supposed to let go instead? It wasn't going to be Greg Dulcich. Not even close. I've been high on Dulcich since the moment Miami took a chance on him. I wanted him on this roster from the day he flashed with the Giants in preseason. 3 touchdowns in 3 games, and one of the most productive tight ends in August football. Once Miami added him to the 53-man roster about 6 weeks ago, he immediately proved he belonged. And while he hasn't put up monster numbers yet, he's been reliable. 10 catches on 14 targets, 113 yards, steady production, solid route running, and signs of a connection building with Tua Tagovailoa. He even came inches away from his first touchdown. A slight misread on a route kept it off the board. When you compare that to the rest of the league, it becomes even clearer. Among the 68 tight ends who have seen at least 10 targets this season, Dulcich ranks respectably across several categories. He's not a superstar yet, but he's a real contributor, the kind of player you keep, develop, and trust in critical moments. So again, Miami's choice wasn't really a choice at all. They weren't cutting Waller. They weren't cutting Dulcich. And they weren't cutting Hill. That made Rucci the odd man out, plain and simple. Detroit saw an opportunity and pounced. That's how competitive this league is. But mistake? No. The Dolphins made the only decision that fit their roster, their scheme, and their future. Greg Dulcich isn't just holding his own, he's climbing. Among all tight ends with at least 10 targets this season, he sits 22nd in yards per route run, has 0 drops, and has 1/2 of his contested catch opportunities. His yards after the catch average, 5.5 per reception, lands him comfortably inside the top 30. For a player who joined the Dolphins mid-season, that's impressive. For years, the knock on Dulcich was simple: great receiver, questionable blocker. That was the label he carried everywhere he went. But in Miami, over these last 5 weeks, something has changed. Something real. Dulcich has taken a noticeable leap as a blocker, a part of his game that once held him back. 2 of his best run-blocking performances came in his Dolphins debut against Atlanta and again this past week against New Orleans, where he posted a dominant grade in the 80s. Even with a few average outings mixed in, his overall improvement stands out. His career blocking numbers used to hover in the 30s and 40s. Now he's putting together a season in the 70s. That's not just progress. That's transformation. And that's why he feels like a player Miami can build with. Dulcich brings size at 6 feet 4 inches, 240 pounds, moves smoothly in space, has dependable hands, and is finally becoming a more complete tight end. He can threaten the middle of the field, help in the red zone, and fit into the rhythm of this offense. Those traits matter, especially when you look ahead. Because here's the reality. The Dolphins currently have no established tight ends under contract for 2026. The only name technically on the books is Jalen Conyers, an undrafted prospect who's out for the year with an injury suffered in August. That's it. That's the entire list. So Miami will absolutely need to rebuild this position group, through free agency, through the draft, or both. And if you're searching for players worth keeping as part of that future, Greg Dulcich should be near the top of that conversation. He's young, ascending, and finally showing the complete skill set that teams hunger for. And with this upcoming free agent class shaping up to be one of the stronger tight end groups in recent years, Miami will have decisions to make. But bringing back Dulcich, a player growing right before their eyes, feels like one of the easiest. The upcoming free agent class at tight end is one of the strongest we've seen in years. Veterans, rising stars, and explosive young talents will all hit the market. And before anyone asks, no, Travis Kelce isn't leaving Kansas City. That chapter ends with either a Chiefs contract or retirement. But beyond that, the list is stacked. You've got proven names like Mark Andrews, David Njoku, and Dallas Goedert, all still playing at a high level. Then there's the next wave. Younger players such as Kyle Pitts and Cade Otton, both still developing and entering their primes. Add in intriguing options like Isaiah Likely, Chigoziem Okonkwo, and Noah Fant, and you start to see just how deep this group is. No matter what Miami decides, one thing feels certain: the tight end room is heading for a complete makeover. Whether Mike McDaniel returns in 2026 or a new coaching staff comes in, this position needs real investment. Cheap one-year rentals won't cut it anymore. If Miami wants long-term stability, they must commit to a multi-year plan. If you ask me which free agent option stands out the most, I'd bet on Chigoziem Okonkwo. He's been buried in an inconsistent Tennessee offense, but his athleticism jumps off the screen. Over 400 receiving yards this year without a touchdown doesn't tell the full story. He's dynamic, explosive, and one of the most underrated seam threats in the league. Yes, he's a bit undersized and not a dominant blocker, but he creates mismatches. And in today's NFL, mismatches win games. A contract in the range of 3 years and around $24 million wouldn't surprise me. And it could be a smart swing for a team looking to reshape the position. But if Miami wants to address tight end in the draft instead, this year's class has real talent. At the top stands Kenyon Sadiq from Oregon, a likely first-rounder with the athletic upside teams drool over. If the Dolphins pick in the mid-teens and the board doesn't break their way at corner, edge, or offensive line, Sadiq could be an electric addition. Day 2 also offers strong options: Max Clare, Ohio State; Michael Trigg, Baylor; Eli Stowers, Vanderbilt. Each brings a different style, but all three have the tools to contribute early and develop into long-term starters. And honestly, it's time. Miami has spent years patching this position with short-term solutions: Mike Gesicki in 2022, Durham Smythe in 2023, Jonnu Smith in 2024, and Darren Waller in 2025. For different approaches, for different types of players, and no true long-term answer. That cycle needs to end. With 5 draft picks inside the top 100, a first, a second, and 3 third-rounders, there's no reason Miami shouldn't use one on a tight end. Whether it's a high-upside athlete like Sadiq or a polished playmaker like Trigg or Stowers, The value is there. The Dolphins need to stop renting the position. It's time to build it.